6 months had passed since humans left the Galactic Council. Earth was busy. Ships flew in and out every day. Human experts who once worked across the galaxy were now all back home. Jack Collins looked out the window of his Seattle apartment. Rain hit the glass. Down in the streets, aliens walked among humans. Not Council aliens, but others. The ones the Council called too young or too wild. Jack used to work on the Veldari home planet. For 10 years, he fixed the machines that kept their air clean. The Veldari lived 1,000 years, but they had forgotten how to fix their own world. They relied on humans like Jack. Now his phone rang all day with calls from across the stars. The air filters are failing. The water is turning brown. The power grid is down. Jack sipped his coffee and smiled. "Tell them to read the manual," he often said, but the Council races never read manuals. Why should they, when humans would fix everything? In his living room, 30 human engineers sat in a circle. They all had stories like Jack's. They had all been treated like clever pets by the Council races. "The Zath hive ships are off course," said Maria, who used to be their chief navigator. "They fired all human pilots 6 months ago. Now they're lost between stars." "The Morituri. Healing pools are turning toxic," said Ben, who used to maintain them. "They fired all human doctors. Now their oldest members are getting sick." Sam, who worked with the Council's records, looked up from her computer. "They're blaming us," she said. "The Council is telling everyone that humans sabotaged their systems before leaving." Everyone in the room laughed. They didn't need to sabotage anything. The Council races had become lazy. For 50 years they let humans solve all their problems. Now they had forgotten how to solve problems themselves. "What's happening with the young races?" Jack asked. Sam showed pictures on the big screen. The tree people of Epsilon Indi, the rock rollers of Beta Hydri, the wing clans of Tau Ceti, races the Council thought were too primitive to matter. "They're reaching out to us," Sam said. "They want to trade, to learn. They were always at the bottom of the Council system. Now they see another way." Far away, on the Council's main world, Pax Vur Nakil watched screens with worried eyes. Was a spy, an intelligence officer for the Council. His job was to watch humans. What he saw frightened him. Earth was making new friends. Not the old respected races of the Council, but the ones the Council ignored. The nomad fleets who lived on ships. The silicon mines who thought so differently. The young races from the outer arms of the galaxy. "They are building a coalition," he reported to the High Council. "Not against us, not yet, but separate from us." The oldest Council member, a Morituri named Thaxis, made a sound like stones grinding. "Let them play with the lesser races," he said. "When they face real problems, they will come back to us." But privately, Thaxis was worried too. Reports came in every day. Council worlds were having troubles. Systems humans had built or fixed were breaking down. No one else knew how to repair them. The Council had always told themselves that humans needed them. Now they faced a scary question. What if they needed humans? Back on Earth, Admiral Susan Hayes stood before Earth's leaders in a secure room deep under Washington. Maps of the galaxy filled the walls. Ships moved across the stars on the displays. "The Council races are struggling," she said, "but they are also angry. They see our success as their failure. Some want to bring us back by force." President Lee looked troubled. "Can they?" Susan pointed to the maps. "The Council has more ships, more weapons, but they are spread thin across thousands of worlds, and their tech has not changed in centuries. They stopped inventing long ago." "And us?" asked the president. Susan smiled. "We never stopped inventing. The Council just stopped us from using our inventions. Now we are free to build what we want." She showed them pictures of new ships being built in orbit. Ships faster and stronger than anything the Council had. "We have a 5-year plan," Susan said. "First, we build strong ties with the non-Council races. We help them, they help us. Second, we develop tech the Council has banned. Third, we create a new alliance, one where every race has a voice, not just the oldest ones. The leaders looked at the maps, at the vast council space surrounding Earth like an ocean. They felt small, but also determined. Will it work? Someone asked. It must, Susan said simply. Across the galaxy, changes were happening. Small at first, then bigger. On council worlds, machines started to break. The self-fixing medical units humans had built stopped working without updates. The smart roads grew dumb. The food production systems became less efficient. Council citizens grew angry, not at their leaders, but at humans. They betrayed us, many said. They left us to suffer. They didn't understand that humans had never promised to serve them forever. At the same time, the ignored races of the galaxy watched with interest. For thousands of years, the council had told them, "Wait your turn. You're not ready. You're too young." Now humans were saying, "You're ready now. Let's work together." Ships from Earth visited worlds the council had written off as worthless. Human traders dealt fairly with aliens the council called primitive. Human doctors healed species the council said were doomed. 3 years after humans left the council, President Lee made a bold announcement from the new United Earth capital in Nairobi. "Today we launch the Interstellar Cooperative Alliance," she said. "A new union of species based on mutual help, not age or power. All voices equal, all members valued." 15 non-council races joined on the first day. The council response was quick and harsh. They banned their member races from any contact with the new alliance. They called it a human trick and a path to chaos. But secretly, some council members were worried. The High Counselor of the Zath sent a private message to Earth. The Zath lived as one mind in many bodies. They had been losing pieces of themselves as their ships got lost without human navigators. "We might consider private arrangements," the message said. "Help for our ships. Payment as you wish." Susan Hayes showed the message to President Lee. "It's starting," she said. The cracks in the council. Out on the edge of human space, a border station named New Horizon opened its docks to a massive ship. From it came the Scythians, tall, armored aliens with 4 arms and sharp teeth. The council had kept them isolated for centuries, calling them too aggressive for civilization. The human governor, Alan Garcia, welcomed them without fear. He spoke to them directly, looking into their yellow eyes. The Scythians respected that. "The council fears you," Alan told them. "They fear your strength, your passion. But we see those as gifts, not dangers." The Scythian leader clicked her teeth, a sign of surprise. "We have tried to join galactic society for 500 years, she said. "Always, we are told we are not ready." "You're ready," Alan said simply. "And so are we." As the humans and Scythians talked trade and friendship, a council spy ship watched from hiding. Its report went straight to the High Council. "The humans are allying with the Scythians," it said. "Our greatest fear is coming true. The young races are uniting." In her office in Geneva, Olivia Bennett, Earth's Director of Interstellar Relations, received troubling news. Council ships were moving. The ancient Morituri fleet, which had not left their home system in 5,000 years, was preparing for war. "They still think this is about rebellion," she told President Lee. "They don't understand it's about evolution. The galaxy is changing. They can change with it or fight against it." "And if they fight?" asked the president. Olivia looked out at the stars. "Then we must be ready." Lisa Grant sat in the huge round room of the Galactic Council. Her back was straight, her face calm. Inside, her heart beat fast. 50 years of human work, of joining alien races among the stars, might end today. The voice of the council leader, a tall blue alien named Xerix, filled the room. His words felt cold and final. "The council has decided. Human expansion must stop. Human technology must slow down. Humans are growing too fast, learning too much. This makes the galaxy unsafe." Lisa felt her aide, Daniel, tap her arm. He passed her a small screen with a message from Earth's president. "We will not accept these terms. Prepare for withdrawal." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment. The humans had tried so hard. They had cured space sickness that killed millions. They had built better, faster ships. They had stopped wars between the star people of Vega and the gas giants of Tau Ceti. And still the old races looked down on humans. The Veldari, with their color-changing skin and thousand-year lives, called humans quick deaths. The Zath, who shared one big mind across many bodies, said humans were too single. And the Morituri, the oldest of all, who started the council 10,000 years ago, simply called humans children. Now these ancient aliens wanted to put humans in a box, to tell them this far, no further. Lisa stood up. The room got quiet. No one expected the humans to speak now. That was not the way things were done. But humans never did things the way they were expected to. The people of Earth thanked the Council for its 50 years of guidance, Lisa said. Her voice was clear and strong. Today, we announce our complete and permanent withdrawal from the Galactic Council, its treaties, laws, and protections. As of this moment, humanity stands alone. The room exploded with noise. The Veldari's skin flashed red and purple in shock. The Zath representatives buzzed in a way that meant deep worry. The Morituri, who always looked like they were carved from stone, actually moved in surprise. "This is not allowed," said Xerix, his voice shaking. "No race has ever left the council, not in 50,000 years. Then we are the first," Lisa said. "But I doubt we will be the last." An old Morituri with skin like dry paper stood up. He was so old he had seen stars die. "You cannot live without us," he said. His mouth struggled with human words. "The dangers of space are too great for young races alone." Lisa looked at him and smiled a little. "Perhaps it is you who cannot live without us." Then she turned and walked out of the great room, followed by all 30 human representatives. Their footsteps echoed on the stone floor. No one tried to stop them. In the ship that would take them back to Earth, Daniel looked worried. "What happens now?" he asked. Lisa looked out the window at the council planet growing smaller below them. It was beautiful, with 3 moons and rings like Saturn. For a moment she felt sad. Humans had dreamed of joining the stars for so long, but not like this. Not as servants or children. "Now we build something better," she said. Back on the council planet, the alien races argued. The Veldari said humans should be stopped by force. The Zath warned that humans would die without council protection. The Morituri said to wait, that humans would come back when they faced their first real danger. None of them understood what they had just seen. None of them knew what was coming. On Earth, the news spread fast. Humans were on their own in the galaxy. Some people were scared. Some were angry. But many felt something else. Freedom. For 50 years, the Council had told humans where they could go, what they could build, who they could talk to. Now those chains were gone. President Kate Lee addressed the planet from New York. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," she said. "We left Earth to join a galactic family. We found instead a system that fears change, fears growth, fears the new. That is not humanity's way." Scientists who had worked on council worlds came home. Engineers who had fixed alien machines returned to Earth labs. Doctors who had studied with the best healers in the galaxy set up new schools on Earth. Lisa watched from her apartment in Geneva as the Earth changed. New ships were built, faster than what the Council allowed. New computers thought in ways the Council had banned. New ideas spread that the Council would have called dangerous. 3 months after the withdrawal, the first call came. The Veldari had a problem with their home world's air. The machines that kept it clean were breaking. The humans who had fixed them before were gone. "We will pay anything," the Veldari ambassador said. His skin was gray with fear. "We don't want payment," Lisa told him. "We want respect. We want to be treated as equals, not children." The Veldari didn't understand. To them, a race that lived less than 100 years would always be children. The next call came from the Zath. Their hive ships were getting lost between stars. The human navigators who had guided them were gone. Then the newer races started, calling. Not the council founders, but the ones who had joined later. The tree people of Epsilon Indi. The water dwellers of Procyon, The cloud minds of Tau Keti. They had problems too, but they also had questions. Is it true you left the council? Is it true you're building your own way? Is it true we could join you? 6 months after the withdrawal, Earth had visitors. Not council officials, but representatives from 20 younger races who had always been at the bottom of the council ladder. They came to talk, to trade, to learn. And Lisa found herself in a new meeting room with new alien faces, discussing a new idea. What if the galaxy didn't need masters and students? What if all races could be partners instead? The council watched. From afar, certain that humans would fail. Humans were too young, too rash, too different. They did not understand that different was exactly what the galaxy needed. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the first day of a new universe. No one knew yet how big the change would be. But Lisa Grant had a feeling. As she welcomed alien visitors to Earth, as she saw the excited faces of human scientists working without limits, as she heard reports of council worlds already struggling, without human help, she knew. The old galaxy was ending. Something new was about to begin. 5 years after humans left the council, the galaxy was divided. The old Galactic Council still ruled many worlds, but the alliance had grown strong. Over 60 different alien species had joined, drawn by the promise of equality and freedom, to grow. War seemed closer every day. On the neutral space station Concordia, Frank Martinez walked slowly down a white hallway. At 72, he was one of Earth's oldest diplomats. His hair was silver, his face lined with worry. This might be his last mission, and the most important. The door slid open. Inside waited Eternal Guardian Thaxis of the Morituri, head of the Galactic Council for 700 years. He looked like a statue carved from gray rock. His eyes were deep pools of black. He had seen civilizations rise and fall. Guardian Thaxis. Frank bowed slightly. Thank you for meeting with me. The ancient alien did not stand or bow. His kind rarely moved unless they had to. Human Frank, he said, his voice like grinding stones. You have asked for this meeting. Speak your purpose. Frank sat down. Through the window he could see stars and ships, council vessels on one side of the station, alliance ships on the other, so close yet so far apart. I come to seek peace, Frank said simply. Our peoples do not need to fight. Thaxis made a sound like cracking ice. It might have been a laugh. There is a simple path to peace. Humans return to council guidance. Your alliance disbands. The proper order of the galaxy continues. Frank sighed. This was what he expected. The oldest races could not imagine a galaxy where they didn't make all the rules. The alliance is not just humans, Frank explained. 60 species have joined freely. They don't want to go back to a system where their voice doesn't matter. They are young, Thaxis said. They do not understand the dangers of too much freedom, too much change. With respect, Frank said, leaning forward, I think it's the council that doesn't understand. The galaxy is always changing. Trying to keep it the same for 50,000 years isn't stability. It's stagnation. Thaxis's stone face showed anger for the first time. You have upset the balance that maintained peace for 50,000 years. A stagnant peace is just slow death, Frank countered. Your council couldn't adapt because it was never designed to. It was designed to preserve your power. The meeting went on for hours. Frank tried every argument he could think of. He offered compromises. He suggested ways the council and alliance could exist side by side, but Thaxis would accept only one outcome: complete human surrender. This is our final offer, the ancient being said at last. Humans will return to council oversight. The alliance will disband. All technology developed outside council guidelines will be turned over to us. And if we refuse? Frank asked, though he knew the answer. Then the council will do what it must to restore order to the galaxy. Frank gathered his notes. There was nothing more to say. I will take your message back to Earth. As he walked to the door, Thaxis spoke again. You should know, human Frank, that we have lived longer than your entire species. We have seen rebellions before, They always end the same way. Frank turned back. This isn't a rebellion, Guardian Thaxis. It's evolution. And no force in the universe can stop that. Frank's shuttle left Concordia Station 30 minutes later. He sent a message ahead to Earth. Talks failed, preparing to return. The shuttle was halfway to the jump point when Concordia exploded. A bright flash lit up space. Chunks of metal and plastic scattered across the void. Thousands died in an instant. Diplomats, station workers, visitors from dozens of worlds. Frank's pilot turned the shuttle around looking for survivors. What happened? He kept asking. What happened? Council ships were already leaving the area at high speed. Their message was clear. Talk was over. Hours later, the news spread across the galaxy. Concordia Station destroyed. Thousands dead. The Council blamed Alliance terrorists. The Alliance blamed a Council plot. The truth didn't matter anymore. The spark had been lit. On Earth, in the Alliance headquarters, emergency meetings ran all night. President Lee looked older than her years as she addressed the gathered representatives. We have confirmed that Guardian Thaxis was killed in the explosion, along with most of the Council diplomatic corps. Our diplomat Frank Martinez survived and is returning to Earth. The room was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Council leadership is calling for our surrender. President Lee continued. They claim we bombed our own people to start a war. They have ordered their fleets to move against Alliance worlds. Kreshtar of the Scythian stood up, her forearms raised in anger. We should strike first. The Council has shown its true face. Others agreed. Fear and anger filled the room. 5 years of tension was about to explode into war. President Lee raised her hand for quiet. Before we decide on military action, there is something you should know. The day humans left the Council, we began planning for this moment. We called it Protocol Watershed. Screens around the room lit up with star maps and data. Admiral Susan Hayes stepped forward. For 5 years, we've been placing dormant technologies throughout Council space. Not weapons, but truth-tellers. She touched a control, and the screens showed thousands of small dots spread across Council worlds. These are data nodes, Susan explained. Hidden in the systems we built, in the machines we fixed, in the networks we created. Once activated, they will broadcast everything the Council has hidden from its own people. The room was silent as Admiral Hayes explained the plan. For thousands of years, the old races of the Council had kept secrets from the younger races. They had hidden resources, suppressed discoveries, and told lies to stay in power. Protocol Watershed would reveal it all. The Council doesn't just fear us, Susan said. They fear their own people learning the truth. If we activate these nodes, every being in Council space will see how they've been controlled and lied to. The Alliance members talked long into the night. Some worried this would make the Council even angrier. Others said truth was better than war. In the end, they voted. Protocol Watershed would begin. Across Council space, on thousands of worlds, something strange happened. Screens in homes and public spaces turned on by themselves. Communication devices buzzed with incoming messages. Even old-style radios crackled. With new voices, the truth poured out like water from a broken dam. On Veldari worlds, people learned that the technology to extend their 1,000-year lives to 10,000 had been hidden by the Council, who feared too many immortals. On Zath colonies, the many-bodied people discovered that the Council had limited their hive mind connections, afraid of how powerful a fully connected Zath could become. Even on Morituri worlds, the ancient race learned how their leaders had kept cures for stone sickness secret, using the disease to control their population. And everywhere, all races learned how the Council had deliberately kept them separated, afraid, and suspicious of each other. Some refused to believe. Many were angry. Most were simply shocked. Within days, protests filled the streets of Council worlds. Ships refused to join the war fleet. Colonial governors declared neutrality. The Council hadn't just lost humanity. They had lost control of the narrative. On D, a Council battleship near the border of Alliance space, Captain Velcor of the Veldari stared at his orders. He was to lead the first strike against a human colony world. No warnings. No mercy. Sir, his first officer said quietly. The crew is asking questions. They've seen the data from Protocol Watershed. They're wondering if we're on the right side. Velcor looked at his crew, young Veldari whose skin changed color with their emotions. Right now, most were showing blue-green doubt. What do you think? He asked his officer. I think, the younger Veldari said carefully, that my grandmother on Colony 3 just learned she could have lived another 9,000 years if the Council hadn't hidden the life extension technology. She's not happy about that. Velcor nodded. His own mother had died of age just 3 years ago. He made his decision. Set course for neutral space. Send a message to all ships in our group. We're standing down. Across the planned war front, similar scenes played out. Not all ships refused to fight. Not all crews believed the revelations. But enough did to matter. The Council's war machine, built over thousands of years, perfect in its discipline, faltered at the critical moment. On Earth, Frank Martinez finally arrived home. He was tired, his eyes red from seeing Concordia destroyed. He reported directly to President Lee. Did Protocol Watershed work? He asked. She showed him the latest reports. Half the Council fleet had refused orders. A quarter of Council worlds were in open revolt. The rest were in confusion. We didn't win, President Lee said. But we prevented the worst of the war. Frank sat heavily in a chair. And now? Now comes the hard part, she said. Building something new from the pieces of something old. As Frank left the president's office, he passed a window. Outside in the gardens, he saw aliens from a dozen worlds walking together, talking, learning, sharing. This was what he had fought for all his life. A galaxy where differences were celebrated, not feared. The Council had ruled through division and fear for 50,000 years. It had taken humans just 5 years to show the galaxy another way. Frank smiled for the first time in days. The universe had indeed changed, and there was no going back. 3 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. Earth was no longer alone in space. It stood at the center of something new, the Interstellar Cooperative Alliance. Unlike the Council, with its rigid ranks based on how old your species was, the Alliance welcomed all. Big or small, old or young, every member had an equal voice. Alan Garcia stood at the viewing port of New Horizons Station. The human outpost hung in space at the edge of what used to be Council territory. Through the thick glass, Alan watched a massive ship approach. It was covered in sharp angles and glowing red lines, a Scythian warship. The Council had kept the Scythians isolated for centuries. Too aggressive, they said. Too dangerous. The Scythians were tall, strong aliens, with forearms and teeth like knives. They looked scary to most humans, but Alan knew better than to judge by looks. The ship docked with a gentle bump. Alan smoothed his uniform and went to meet the visitors. The Scythian delegation ducked through the doorway. They were 7 feet tall with gray skin and yellow eyes. Their captain, Kreshtar, lowered her head in greeting. "Welcome to Alliance Space," Alan said. Kreshtar looked around, her sharp teeth showing. "Your station is not what I expected. No weapons pointed at us. No soldiers watching. We trust our guests," Alan said simply. He led them to a meeting room where food and drinks waited. The Scythians sniffed everything before trying it. They were careful. Centuries of isolation had made them suspicious. The Council told all races that Scythians eat their enemies, Kreshtar said, sipping a drink. Alan nodded. The Council told everyone that humans were too wild, too quick to act. They liked to keep races apart, focused on differences. "Why?" asked a younger Scythian. "Divided races are easier to control," Alan said. "United, we might question why the oldest races always lead." As they talked, Alan learned the truth about Scythians. They weren't war lovers, they were direct and strong, with a deep sense of honor. They kept their word. They faced problems head-on. These were qualities the smooth political council saw as primitive. "The Council feared your potential," Alan told them. "They did the same to us. In the Alliance, we see potential as something to help grow, not something to control." At the end of the day, Kreshtar made an announcement. The Scythian Empire wishes to join your alliance. Alan smiled. We would be honored. Across the galaxy, Council space was in trouble. On the Zath homeworld, their central hive mind was failing. The complex systems that connected millions of Zath bodies had been maintained by human programmers for decades. Now those systems were breaking down. In Veldari space, 3 colony worlds declared they were leaving the Council. They wanted to join the Alliance. Their young leaders had grown up working with humans. They liked human ideas about voting and sharing power. The Council called emergency meetings. They sent their oldest, wisest members to remind everyone of the proper order of the galaxy. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. On Earth, Olivia Bennett sat in her office in Geneva. As Director of Interstellar Relations, she received reports from across the stars. Today, the news was troubling. Her assistant, Sam Lewis, brought a secure tablet. The Morituri are moving their fleet, Sam said. All of it. Olivia frowned. The Morituri were the oldest Council race. Their ships were ancient but powerful. They rarely left their home systems. Where are they going? She asked. Sam showed her the map. Toward Alliance space, and they've called up ships from other Council races too. Olivia looked out her window at Lake Geneva. It was peaceful, blue and calm. Space might soon be very different. They still don't understand, she told Sam. They think this is about rebellion, about humans being difficult. They don't see that the galaxy is evolving past their old system. Will there be war? Sam asked quietly. Olivia didn't answer right away. Humans had never wanted war. They just wanted to be treated as equals, not children. But the oldest Council races couldn't accept a galaxy where they weren't in charge. Send a message to all Alliance worlds, she finally said. Be ready. Far from Earth, on a small planet called Haven, a mixed group of aliens worked together. Humans taught Driftfleet engineers about new engine designs. Scythian warriors trained with soldiers from 5 different worlds. Scientists from a dozen species shared ideas the Council would have banned. Dr. Emma Ward watched from a hillside. As a xenobiologist, she had spent 20 years studying alien life. Under the Council, her work had been limited. Some knowledge was not for young races. Now she worked freely with minds from across the galaxy. It's amazing how fast we've all connected, she told her friend Zir, a floating jellyfish-like being from Tau Ceti. Not amazing, Zir hummed in response. Natural. The Council kept us apart. Without them, we find each other. That night, Emma looked up at the stars. New ships from the Alliance filled the sky. They were built using ideas from many worlds, human engines, Scythian armor, drift fleet sensors, and more. Working together, they had created vessels better than anything the Council had. In Council space, the oldest races watched with growing alarm. Humans were supposed to fail without Council guidance. Instead, they were thriving and taking other races with them. They are stealing our members, said the Veldari High Speaker, his skin flashing angry red. 3 of our worlds have joined them. They are spreading dangerous ideas, said the Zath Queen. Her many bodies spoke as one. Ideas about change, about questions, about new ways. The Morituri, oldest of all, simply said, "This cannot continue." On their ancient throne world, the Morituri leaders gathered. Their stone-like faces showed no emotion, but their decision was full of feeling. Pride, anger, fear. Prepare the Grand Fleet, they ordered. The humans must be brought back to their proper place. What the Morituri didn't understand was that humans had never had a proper place. They had always been changing, growing, reaching. Back on Earth, at the Alliance headquarters, representatives from 60 species met in a great round room. Unlike the Council chamber, where races sat according to their age and power, here everyone sat as equals. President Lee addressed them all. We have reports that the Council is preparing for possible military action. They see our alliance as a threat to their order. A murmur went through the room. Some races were afraid. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. Who were they to challenge that? Kreshtar of the Scythians stood up. Her voice was deep and strong. My people were isolated for centuries because we did not bow to council ways. If they come with ships and guns, we will show them Scythian strength. Other representatives spoke too. The Drift Fleet promised their fast ships. The Silicon beings of Rigel offered their unbreakable codes. The Tree People of Epsilon Indi said they would heal the wounded. President Lee looked around the room with pride. This was what humanity had helped build. Not an empire, but a family of different beings, each bringing their own gifts. We do not want war, she said. We will try once more for peace. But if the Council forces a choice between freedom and submission, I believe I know what we will all choose. The next day, on the neutral space station Concordia, Alliance diplomat Frank Martinez prepared for one last peace talk. He was an old man who had spent his life building bridges between worlds. Now he hoped to build one more, between the past and the future of the galaxy. Across the table would sit Eternal Guardian, Thaxus, oldest of the Morituri, head of the Council for 700 years, a being who had seen stars die and new races rise. Will he listen? Asked Frank's young aide. Frank smiled sadly. Probably not. But we must try. As Frank's shuttle approached Concordia, he looked out at the stars. Humans had dreamed of reaching them for thousands of years. Now they were here, making their mark on the galaxy. Whatever happened next, there was no going back to being the Council's clever pets. The universe had already changed too much for that. 10 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. The galaxy was a different place now. The once mighty council had fallen apart, replaced by smaller groups working together across the stars. The great war that everyone feared never happened. Instead, something more powerful spread. Ideas. On the planet that once served as the council's capital, Lisa Grant walked slowly through gardens that used to be closed to all but the oldest races. Now aliens of all kinds moved freely here. Some were tall and furry, others floated like soap bubbles. Young races mixed with old. No one bowed to anyone else. Lisa was 72 now, her hair white, her steps careful. Beside her shuffled an even older being, Thaxus, the former head of the council. He had not died in the Concordia explosion as everyone thought. He had been found half alive in an escape pod and, ironically, saved by human doctors. I still don't understand, the ancient alien said, his stone voice softer now with age. How did you know it would work? That leaving the council would succeed? You were one species against hundreds. Lisa smiled as she watched a group of children playing, human kids running alongside young Veldari and small Scythians. No. We simply recognized something your council forgot long ago. True strength isn't in control, but in adaptation. You tried to keep us in a box because you feared change. But change is the only constant in the universe. The Galactic Council was gone. After Protocol Watershed revealed their secrets, many council worlds had split away. The oldest races, the Morituri, the Veldari, the Zath, had lost their grip on power. They still had their homeworlds and close colonies, but the vast empire they once ruled had broken into new patterns. Some regions had formed their own small councils with elected leaders instead of the oldest members in charge. Others had joined the alliance that Earth started. Some chose to stand alone. The galaxy was more complex now, but also more alive. Was it worth it? Thaxus asked. The confusion? The disorder? Some worlds suffered when the council fell. Lisa nodded. She knew there had been hard times during the change. Not all worlds were ready for freedom. Some needed help learning how to stand on their own after depending on the council for so long. Growth is often painful, she said, but necessary. Across the galaxy, human ideas had spread like seeds on the wind. The drift fleets, who had wandered, homeless for centuries, used human terraform technology to bring their ancient worlds back to life. The Zath Collective, freed from council rules that limited their hive mind, experienced an explosion of new thoughts and art. Even the proud Veldari had embraced the idea that all their people should have a voice, not just the oldest. On 100 worlds, new ships were being built. Not council ships or alliance ships, but vessels created by many species working together. Each brought their own gifts to the design: human engines and computers, Scythian armor, Zath navigation systems, Veldari living quarters that adjusted to any biology. These ships were traveling farther than the council had ever gone, finding new worlds, new life. Earth had changed too. Once just one world alone, it was now the heart of a network of friendly planets. Alien students came to human universities. Alien plants grew in human parks. Alien ideas mixed with human ones, creating new ways of thinking. In Geneva, in the old Alliance headquarters, Peter Wright, the new director of Galactic Relations, met with representatives from 30 worlds. They were discussing a problem on a far colony where the atmosphere was failing. In the old days, the council would have sent experts to fix it, keeping the locals dependent. Now the meeting was about teaching the colonists to solve their own problems, with just enough help to get started. Send teachers, not saviors, Peter told them, repeating what was now a common saying. In space near what used to be the council border, a ship named Unity carried scientists from 20 different species. They were studying a strange space anomaly that the council had declared off limits for thousands of years. Why did they keep people away from this? Asked Kim Lee, the human team leader. Her alien colleague, a floating ball of light named Xerix, pulsed thoughtfully. The council feared what they did not understand, and they feared species who might understand things they did not. The anomaly turned out to be a doorway of sorts, a way to fold space that could let ships travel much faster than before. The council had hidden it because they worried it would let young races spread too quickly. Now it would help everyone. On Earth's moon in the Great Dome of Armstrong City, Admiral Susan Hayes, now retired, taught at the new Galactic Academy. Her students came from hundreds of worlds. Some had once been council races, others alliance. Some had been neutral. Now they learned together. The universe is not a pyramid with someone at the top telling everyone else what to do, she told them. It's a web, where each strand supports the others. That's the lesson humanity had to teach the galaxy. After class, a young Morituri student stayed behind. His stone face showed worry, which was unusual for his kind. "Admiral," he said, "some of my people still say the old ways were better, that the council brought peace and order." Susan nodded. "Some humans say that too, change is hard. But ask them this. Would they give up what we have now? Would they go back to being told their place and never allowed to move beyond it?" The student thought about this. "No," he said finally. "I would not go back." In the far reaches of the galaxy, beyond where the council had ever ruled, new life was being discovered. Humans and their allies found strange, beautiful aliens living on worlds. The council's maps marked as empty. Some were just developing technology. Others had amazing art or medicine or philosophy. In the old days, the council would have decided if these races were ready to join galactic society. Now, the choice was theirs. Many chose to learn about the wider universe. Some preferred to develop in their own way, with just occasional visitors. No one told them they were too young or too different anymore. Back on the garden world that once was the heart of the council, Lisa and Thaxis reached a high point where they could see the spaceport. Ships of all shapes and sizes were landing and taking off. Traffic was much busier than in council days. "Your people never wanted to rule the galaxy," Lisa said, watching the ships rise toward the stars. "You just wanted order, predictability. You forgot that life is messy and always changing." Thaxis was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. "Perhaps we ruled too long. Perhaps it was time for new ways." As night fell over the spaceport, ships from 100 worlds moved in harmony. Their lights made patterns in the darkening sky like stars themselves. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy," Lisa whispered, more to herself than to Thaxis. "We just wanted to live in a galaxy worth exploring. Far above them, beyond the atmosphere, A ship was preparing for its first jump to a new star system. It was the newest vessel of the Earth exploration fleet, named Watershed. Its crew included humans, Veldari, Scythians, Zath, and even a young Morituri scientist. Captain Laura Chen sat in the command chair, looking at the diverse faces of her crew. Some had skin, some scales, some stone. Some breathed air, others processed, different gases, but all looked back at her with the same expression, excitement. "Course laid in, Captain," said her Veldari navigator, her skin flashing happy blue lights. "All systems ready," added the human engineer. "Then let's make history," Laura said with a smile. "Jump when ready." The ship vanished in a flash of light, heading toward a place no intelligent being had ever seen. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not control or power, but curiosity and courage. The will to step into the unknown and find wonders there. On thousands of worlds across the galaxy, billions of beings looked up at their night skies with new eyes. For 50,000 years, the Council had told them what the universe was, what their place in it would be. Now they were free to find out for themselves. Some still feared this freedom. Some still longed for the simple days when the oldest races made all the choices. But most felt something else as they watched the stars. Possibility. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe changed. Not ended, not collapsed, but grew into something more complex and alive. The old galaxy of masters and students was gone. The new galaxy of partners and friends was just beginning. And the stars, countless and patient, watched it all unfold, as they had watched for billions of years before, and would watch for billions of years to come.